Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to the first video in a 5-part series on communication in marriage. It's no surprise that communication is such an incredibly important topic. It is one of the most common issues that couples come to marriage counselors and marriage coaches hoping to solve. So in this video specifically, we are going to focus on 2 separate aspects of communication, and hopefully by learning and educating yourself about them and practicing these skills, you're going to be able to have more healthy and fruitful communication with your spouse. So it's very clear as to why communication is such a huge issue between couples. One, you, like most couples, likely didn't grow up with your spouse. And even if you did, it's likely that you didn't grow up intimately with them, and you likely don't know what their communication style is. And so now you went this whole entire section of your life not knowing what your spouse's communication style was like, and now you're living with that person and you're having to figure out how do we merge our communication styles. That's not something that happens accidentally. It has to happen with intentionality and effort. Another aspect that makes communication very difficult between spouses is, quite frankly, the fact that you have two individuals who are the opposite genders. There is a sociolinguist who basically studies the differences in gender communication, and she always said something that was really interesting to me, which was that the difference in communication between genders is very similar to cross-cultural communication. It's like you're from 2 completely different cultures trying to communicate things. You can imagine how difficult that makes things. So one part of communication that is important to keep in mind and can really enhance your relationship if you're mastering it is understanding the art of body language. Body language is something that is known to be even more impactful than the words that you say. And this is not just my opinion, this is the opinion of neurobiologists who understand that at any given moment our brain is constantly registering so many different things that we are seeing in another person's body language, from the way the corners of their mouth are moving to the things that their eyes are doing. Are their eyes dilating or constricting? Are they squinting? What are their eyebrows doing? What are their hands doing? How is their posture? All of these things are signals to us, and our brain is taking all of this information that we're seeing this other person perform and utilizing it to really try to understand what they mean. If we're not able to do that, that ends up really causing a big issue. You can tell how difficult that might be. For example, if you're texting someone, you can't really read their tone, you can't hear the way they're saying something, but you also can't see the way they're expressing their ideas. I want to give a story of a girl who I actually went to school with when I was doing my bachelor's degree. And I remember whenever I would speak to her, she would make this very intentional effort. You could tell that she was thinking about it, to turn her entire body towards me. She would do this with really anyone she was talking to. So one day I asked her, I said, I noticed that you always turn your body fully towards the person you're talking to. Why do you do that? And she said something that was really beautiful, and I remember hearing it, and it struck me. It was something that I decided from that day on I wanted to apply to my communication. She said that she had learned that the Prophet ﷺ would turn towards the person he was speaking to completely, and so she wanted to emulate that. Now, that is just one aspect of body language, your posture and the fact that you're turning towards someone. But if you make that effort to do that, so imagine in your day-to-day how often you and your spouse have communication, whether it's a quick how are you or sharing, the things that need to be done for that day. Think about what it is you can do to physically turn towards your partner. That might mean if you're doing the dishes, you stop doing the dishes and you turn. It might mean you put your phone down. It might mean that you can't fully turn your body, but you can turn your head. Either way, making that effort is going to be extremely helpful. And we know if the Prophet ﷺ did that, then this is one of the best behaviors that we can emulate. A second thing to think about when it comes to communication is really utilizing the skill of asking questions. Now, I know it seems simple, but it is something that is so simple but extremely insightful if you practice it. So often when communication is happening, it's very easy to misinterpret what another person means. And sometimes when we misinterpret, our brain automatically goes into fight or flight. We might feel hurt or offended, but we aren't even sure if that's exactly what the person meant by what they said. So if we can take that moment when we're misinterpreting or not exactly sure what another person means, to catch the emotion before it comes and say to the person, can you explain what you meant by that? Or any other form of the question. Can you repeat that? Or what did you mean? Or I don't think I understood. Can you help me understand better? Whatever it might be, if you are willing to exercise that skill and ask questions, one, you're demonstrating humility, and two, you're recognizing that, hey, I'm not a mind reader. I don't know exactly what my partner is trying to tell me. Let me give them a chance to clarify. That's one thing. And then let's say that they did say something that was offensive or rude or hurtful. Giving that question is sometimes an opportunity to allow that person to rectify themselves before an explosive fight happens, right? So maybe they then get to take that moment to recognize, hey, I said something I shouldn't have said, and let me check myself before things get out of hand. So these are just two aspects of communication and two very simple things that you can do, physically turning towards and asking questions, that can really make a huge difference to your marriage. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to beautify your marriage, to make it a safe haven and a place of mawadda and rahmah, mercy and compassion for you and your spouse until the akhirah, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.